into zone. Topic here is outside zone. There's a lot of different ways, obviously, I think, to run this. But one of the first things I'm going to talk about is just your basic techniques, basic alignments. And then we'll move into zone schemes versus man schemes, why you use them. And as we approach, if you guys got a question or anything, you just raise your hand, and I want this to be interactive so that you get your questions asked, and it might be you just want an opinion on what I think of something or think of how you're doing it. I'll tell you what I believe, but I'm going to tell you this. In this game of football, you have to believe your product's the best, and you have to believe that what you teach is the best. And so when you put time and effort in, and then you sell to your players, I've seen guys do things that I didn't think could get done, but their players believe in it, the coaches believe in it, and it works. So regardless of what you do, is you get yourself on the same page with the rest of your coaches and the rest of your players, then you make it work. Okay? All right. And I don't have all the answers to every problem. I don't. Matter of fact, I go to these clinics a lot of times to either reconfirm in my mind what I believe or get some new ideas. I was telling some guys just last week in a clinic, I said, the other day I'm in there watching some recruiting film. This is in January. And I'm watching recruiting film, and I'm seeing this guy, he's running this kind of power off tackle with a little bounce play that it's kind of a complimentary play. And so I bring it up to Coach Saban. I said, this is a pretty good idea. And he said, well, show me what you're talking about. And so I show him, and he says, hey, I like that. He said, where'd you think of that? I said, I was just sitting in my office, I mean, hey, it's a game of stealing, I swear. But the point is that we're all looking for better ways to do things, and I want you guys to know this, that, hey, I want this to be interactive. If you think that I haven't covered something, or you think that, hey, have you ever thought of this? I'd like to hear it, because sometimes it can get you into some better thoughts, okay? And I'll give you a good example. I'm not talking about inside zone today, but one of the things that I'm doing right now is we're blocking inside zone with outside zone principles. Okay? Now, the reason we're doing that is everybody's pressuring the line of scrimmage. They're pressing us up there, okay? So they're attacking the line of scrimmage. Well, we're attacking, and if we run inside zone principles, then we're short power stepping and we're attacking up the field, or we're getting a lot of stalemates. We're not getting any uneven gaps created. We're not getting any flow cut. And if we do get a flow cut, we're always cutting back into who? The number 8 guy at the line of scrimmage, because if we've got 7 up there, they got 8. If we've got 6 up there, they've got 7. If we've got 5 up there, they got 6. So they're always going to have an extra guy that we can't block, because everybody's theory right now is to do what? Stop the run. That's the theory. Hey, make them beat you with the quarterback, and then just have the ability to pressure him and cause some disruption. And so that's what everybody's doing. Well, I visited some friends of mine at LSU, and our quarterback coach now is Morris Watts. He's from LSU, and he brought some film up, and we got to talking about this play, and I watched how they ran their inside zone, and that's what they did. And they were number 1 in the rushing in the league in the SEC, and they ran their inside zone with outside zone principles. Okay? And part of the reason they did that is outside zone, what are we trying to do? We're trying to hook and press the line of scrimmage. Well, if a guy's standing here and he's forcing forward, and I'm trying to hook him, Well, then all of a sudden, he has to adjust his feet and try to stop from being hooked, and he's got to play the defense. Well, all of a sudden, what happened is, we try to hook everybody in the line of scrimmage. If we get one hook and the other two guys we don't get hooked, there's an uneven gap. We create an unnatural gap in here. And basically, that's what's happening. All right, now, most of us who run the outside zone, all right, run in the outside zone 1 yard out and 1 yard deep off the tight end. Some people run it 3 yards out and 1 yard deep off the tight end. Now, there's two different principles. One, the quarterback's going to take the ball and he's going to go almost 4 steps and really have to stretch to get the ball to the, all right? And that principle is one that Wisconsin runs a little bit. You don't see a lot of the pro teams running that as much. That's really a run outside, D-gap run, and beat the defense outside. It's just beat the defense outside. Get on the people and block support and beat the defense outside. The way I teach the outside zone, we're going to attack 1 yard outside the tight end, 1 yard deep. And basically, we're going to take the ball and we're going to run that course. We're going to run what I call a C-gap course. In other words, as the line of scrimmage stretches a little bit, that C-gap moves out just a little bit, and we're going to run a C-gap to a D-gap bounce. A C-gap to a D-gap bounce, okay? And that's how we're going to teach it. All right, now, so that at least preliminary thought in mind here. The progression and how we teach it, okay? All right. Now, I think this. Everything has to be learned in concept. You don't learn things piecework. You learn it as a concept, you understand? You have to know what the concept is in order to understand it. It's just like what scares you away from computers is it seems like it's a lot of stuff, a lot of different things to do. But once you kind of understand the concept of a desktop, a concept of icons, a concept of the filing and the menus, then all of a sudden you kind of know how to get yourself around and work everything. And even when you get a little stuck, you kind of think, well, I go back to the concept of it, and it always comes up pretty much the solution, okay? And that's basically what I want you to understand. When I teach everything in concept. And so when I teach this, I talk about zone concepts, all right? Outside zone principles, all right? Every guy that's covered, when we're blocking zone, is going to do stretch, hook, all right? So he's going to take his eyes, and he is going to he's going to attack that guy's outside armpit. Outside armpit. He's going to, no matter where he lines up, that's basically where we're trying to head to, the outside armpit, okay? All right. Every guy who's uncovered is stretch, scoop, okay? Stretch, scoop. All right. Now, his job is to get the play side number. His job is to get the play side number. So if he's uncovered, he's going to attack for the play side number. If he's covered, he's going to attack the outside armpit. The guy who's uncovered will always try to overtake the near lineman. He's always trying to overtake the near lineman. The guy who's covered is always trying to advance to the second level. That's not what he does. That's what he tries to do. Okay? Now, second rule that's not written down here, it's a coaching point that I always say on this stuff. Once engaged, stay engaged. Once engaged, stay engaged until you feel the overtake. So if I attack a lineman on his outside armpit and I'm engaged with a guy, I'm not going to advance to the second level until I feel the overtake come in, okay? Because you don't know if you attack the guy's outside armpit and you got him hooked, if you try to jump up, maybe the inside backer pressed and blitzed. So the outside, the guy who's going to stretch scoop sees him coming, has to take him right now. So he can't cover you, right? Well, if you leave the guy, then there's nobody blocking that guy. So these are little things that come up that you have to have rules for. Once engaged, stay engaged, okay? All right. Yeah, move that. Okay. Stretch hook. Now, I said outside armpit, and that's really what I want. But here's the deal, a short 45-degree lead step. That lead step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that step right here. I'm going to get that step 45 degree. I'm going to try to get this guy's outside armpit. But you're going to lead him like you do a basketball pass. You don't want to overlead the guy, but when I say go to a gap, basically does that mean this? All right? I'll kind of demonstrate here. We'll make this guy the tackle right here. All right? And we'll make this guy the linebacker. This. Okay? All right. If I'm a right tackle right here, I'm going to step with this guy's outside. I'm going to rip 45-degree step right here. Okay? I'm going to step towards this gap, try to get this guy's what? Outside armpit. I'm going to take my off-shoulder forearm and rip it through. And then on my second step as I rip through, my third step's going to be a press. So it's going to be a 45-degree rip, run, and press. Rip, run, and press. So that's how it's going to be taught. Okay? All right. Second step is an explosion step, and I call it an explosion step because the lead, first steps are always lead steps, second steps are always explosion steps. Now, let me just go back to the basic fundamentals of offensive line play. Basic fundamentals of offensive line play. Proper footwork leads to proper landmarks, which leads to proper position, which leads to successful blocks. Proper footwork leads to proper landmarks, which leads to proper positions and successful blocks. If you have bad footwork, you cannot succeed as an offensive lineman. You will not succeed. You may be talented enough to get away with things, but you will not succeed. As a rule, the better footwork you have, the better player you'll become up front. And it's critical. It's critical for a lot of things. It's critical for understanding leverage. It's critical for fitting in with the player next to you. Very critical, footwork, okay? All right. Now, another term I like to use is the eyes must fight for leverage. Eyes, fellas. The more you can talk about using the eyes is more explanatory for players. You know, we all got to be on the same page. And, you know, I already told some guys this in the other room last night, but you know, knowing what's being asked, knowing the answer, what the real answer is really important, because too many times, oftentimes, a question will be asked, but they don't understand the question. You'll ask your players a question, or they'll ask you a question, and you don't understand the question, or they don't understand the question. And if they got that puzzled look, then you need to further make sure that they understand, because too many times the question leads to bad solutions. And I mentioned this is a professor who was an all-girls school in Georgia. He's a college professor. He was teaching a freshman class of girls in anatomy. And he said, he basically said this. He said, please, can somebody tell me in this room what increases 6 times, what part of the body increases 6 times its natural size? And he said, Mrs. Smith, do you care to answer that question? And she said, I cannot believe that you would ask me that question. You have a filthy mind. I'm telling my parents. And so he said, well, Mrs. Perkins, would you care to answer that question? She said, well, sure. It's the pupil of your eye in dim light will increase 6 times its natural size. He said, very good. He said, as for you, Mrs. Smith, number 1, you didn't study your lesson. Number 2, it is you that has the dirty mind. And number 3, you're in for some major future disappointments. So, just make sure you know how to phrase the question, and they know what you're asking. Okay? And I say sit. You know what? I've kind of eliminated this term. Engagement is 80% of the defender. Let me tell you, so that's clinic bullshit. You know why? You tell me what 80% is, and you tell me that player's going to come off the line of scrimmage and go, well, coach, I thought I had 75%. You know, come on. I don't even leave that door open now. Engagement is engagement, period. Hey, you come off, you got contact, you're engaged, you know to stay until you get pushed off. You got it? That's what engagement is. It's not 80% of, hey, don't write that down unless you're doing a clinic someplace. All right? I don't know, I kind of came up with that, and then I said, I don't like it, and then I tried to explain to the players, and the more I tried to put it to the players, I said, it's not any good. They don't think in terms of percentage. They think in terms of contact or no contact. That's what they think of. All right? Okay. All right. Now, one of the things is when you come off on the second level, I have a term which I don't have it down here. It's called fading for leverage. Okay. Now I rip 45 degrees, rip and run and press. If I start to press and I don't get engagement, this guy slants inside or steps inside. I don't get engagement, so I'm free to go. As I come off here, the worst mistake that all these players make is they come off, they see that linebacker move to this position here. He's moving, he's already running. All right, so now he's at this position here. And I come off and I block him where he is. Critical mistake. Okay? So I come off here, and I see him, and I make just a slight move to him. And he bounces outside. Okay? Now here's my rule. As you come off, the whole idea of the outside zone is leverage, 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 leverage. Get leverage at all costs. Get leverage at all costs. So I'm going to rip, run. All right, I'm going to get leverage on him. So I'm going to fade for leverage. Start to fade for leverage right here. Don't ever worry about getting beat underneath. I'm going to tell you, that's the best rule you can tell the players. Don't ever worry about getting beat underneath. You get it beat underneath, that guy's not going to make a play as long as you can get something on him. Okay? Something on him. So if I start running right here like this, boom, I start fading leverage. He knows I got leverage, so he's going to go underneath. If he starts coming underneath, I get a hand on him right here. That's all I got to get on. It will. The reason he chooses to go underneath is because he thinks he can do what? Make the play. If he starts to go underneath right here, that's not a great help. Oh, good. See? That's real good.
Rip that jacket off.
Look at that shit, huh? You're going to take a major forearm. Okay. As he comes off right here, go ahead and step off right here. Now he's fading for leverage. If I do this right here, and I think I can just let it sit, I got a chance to make that play right there, I'll go underneath. All right, so if I go, now you can put a hand on this, I go. All right, so as he goes like this, I go, and I try to go underneath. He gets a little hand, and I go this much difference, it's over. You can't make that play anymore. So it's more critical to get the leverage than it is to worry about whether he beats you underneath. So when you talk to your players, you always talk in terms of leverage. All right, thanks. Appreciate it. All right? Always talk in terms of leverage. All right, now, I always say this about keeping back flat and stuff, but look, when we talk about coming off here, someone come off, this is how it should look, ready? Boom, I come off, I go 45 degrees, rip, run the press, he goes inside, linebacker, dip, back goes flat, dip and hit, deliver, all right? So I want to dip and hit and deliver, all right? I'll give you some drills that I do to work this in a second, But what I'm trying to do is just go through the basic techniques of teaching this. Basic techniques of teaching. All right? You know how we guys are. You know what we like to do, don't you? We like to stay up late at night, draw on the napkins, tell each other how we're going to do all this shit. And the key is not whether you get how many napkins you can draw on, is whether you can teach those players to do what you're saying. And I think the biggest thing is, again, is concept. If I tell my players how we block this defense, they just say zone. And I said, well, what's that mean? Well, you're covered, stretch hook, you're uncovered, stretch scoop. Well, what's that mean? You understand? They know. In other words, they know that what the defense is does not really matter. They know the concept. So what I did is I try to relieve the idea that it doesn't matter where they jump to, where they stem to, what they do, how they line up. It only matters that I'm either covered or uncovered. That I'm either stretch hooking or stretch scooping. And if a guy moves into a slant position, all right, he's already moved into a slant position, and I don't have to hook him, I mean, he's already in there, then I'll run right through his outside armpit and fade for leverage on the linebacker. Hey, that's all it is. Now, there are times when what? They're going to get themselves in a position that's not natural for zone. And what I call those is gap positions. The more guys line up in what I call leveraged gaps, they line up in a wide three technique. Boy, it's hard for that right guard now to block that guy on a what? On a stretch hook, because he's got to really do what? He's got to flatten himself to get it. And if he's got to flatten himself to get it, he's losing his what? Losing his power, his blocking angles, okay? Since he's trying to do that, he's got problems. So what we end up saying is this. There are situations where we're going to jump from what? Zone to man. Zone to man. Now, how we term it in our language is we get up there, if we call slant 8 and 9, we're running zone. If we call slant 6 and 7, we're running man. Same play, outside zone, but when we call slant 6 and 7, we're telling, rather than saying slant 8 and 9 and then adding the term TED to it, we just say slant 6 and 7. It's still outside zone. 6 and 7 are man schemes, 8 and 9 are zone schemes, okay? And we do that also with our toss. Toss the ball, toss 8 and 9, zone it. Toss 6 and 7, man it, okay? All right. One thing I'm going to suggest to you that I think is really good, and you don't have to do this, but you go through and you take your run game. I'm going to put this down 1 second and come back to it. But take your run game and do like this, because I think it really helps your players. All right. I've got zone plays. I've got man plays. And I've got gap zone plays. Those are, every category of every run fits into those 3 categories, or a combination of them, okay? So basically I go, okay, you got 12 and 13, that's your inside zone. 16 and 17, that's your outside zone, okay? All right? All right, I got toss, outside zone. All right, I come up here, I go, man, what's a man play? All right, well, now here, for us, excuse me, I take it back. For us, it's 18, 19. For us, man plays would be, like we called 16 and 17, all right, slant, that would be outside zone. This would be slant, all right, and this, we call this roll. I should put those turns in there so you know. All right, slant 16, 17, that's man on the front side, but it's still one on the back side. Zone, okay, all right, then we get down here and we're gonna run power. So we go power, 46 and 47. Power's a what play? Gap. Gap play. We're going to gap the front side, gap block the front side, pull the back side guard. We call counter. That's a what play? A gap play. So what we're going to do in a gap play is this. Everybody's going to block inside gap, blitz to backside backer. Inside gap to blitz to backside backer. Inside gap to blitz to backside backer. Okay? Back A. Offside gap, blitz, backside backer. Pull, frontside backer, kick out, or however you do it. Sometimes the fullback, sometimes it's the guard. However you do it. But the point is, that's their rule. Block every defense. No problem. I don't have to, I don't have to say, all right, against this defense, you're going to do this. Against that defense, you're going to do this. They know what the base rules are. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Are there some exceptions? You bet. You and I both know, well, on this one, we kind of like, we're going to work a little harder to double this guy and try to get up that way because we can't get through the inside, whatever it is. My point is this. If they understand the base concept, then it's so easy when you say, okay, we want to adjust this a little bit, and here's why we're adjusting. They understand why you're adjusting because we're having a hard time getting the backside backer because he's already shifted over. So rather than release to the inside, we're going to have you post and let the tackle go over the top. Okay? So those are just some thought processes as far as concept teaching. Okay? All right, we'll get back to this. All right. Rip, run, rip. Hey. Now, short 45-degree lead step. Target number's the next. Is a play side number, the next down lineman. Play side number, the next down lineman. Second step is explosion step, rip and run. Rip off shoulder and hand. Off shoulder and hand. You should want to rip and run, okay? All right. Your eyes must get leverage upfield, and then if you don't get engagement, if I step here and I start to rip and I don't get engagement, then I press to the linebacker. I now press to the linebacker. Okay? Now we're having a problem now running. What hurts zone? Does anybody tell me what hurts zone? Huh? Blitz can hurt zone? Well, why does blitz hurt zone? Huh? Well, blitz hurts zone because if the linebackers are starting to move up into the line of scrimmage or they're starting to move up, I no longer can do what? I can no longer cover the guy next to me because if I step here and that guy blows a gap, I'm stuck. So what we're seeing is, like Nebraska, Penn State is a little bit, they know you like the zone block. What they're doing is they're walking guys up into the gaps, okay, and not quite all the way in there, just far enough in there to keep what?